Reading rocks. Reading rocks. Do 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 do. Reading rocks.
Hi, I'm Christina and I'm the Director of Operations here at the Garden of the Gods Visitor and Nature Center. Have you ever thought about how much you can learn from animal poop? It sounds kind of gross, right? But actually you can learn so much about how animals live in our world just by looking at their poop. So today we have two fun activities. We're going to read the book, Who Pooped on the Colorado Plateau, and then we're going to take a look inside the Nature Center at one of our very own exhibits that's all about poop.
Who Pooped on the Colorado Plateau? Scat and Tracks for Kids. Written by Gary D. Robson. Illustrated by Robert Rath. Read to you with special permission by the author and the publisher, Far Country Press. "Are we there yet?" Michael asked as he squirmed in the back seat. "We've been driving forever." "We're already there, Michael," said Dad. "We've been on the Colorado Plateau for more than an hour. We'll be at the campsite by lunchtime." "But we aren't in Colorado yet," said Michael's older sister, Emily. "Most of the Colorado Plateau isn't in Colorado, Emily," Mom explained. "It's a flat area that covers parts of 4 states. It's high up in the mountains, too. We're more than a mile above sea level right now." "I'm tired of being in the car," said Michael. "I'd like to stretch my legs too," said Mom. "Let's go for a walk after we stop for lunch." "Michael's too scared to walk in the woods," said Emily. "He's afraid he'll get eaten by a mountain lion." She curved her fingers like claws and growled. "Stop it, Emily," said Mom, holding Michael's hand. "Nobody's getting eaten by anything." Michael was excited about the trip. But Emily was right. He had just read a book about big cats and mountain lions with their big teeth and claws, and he was frightened of them. "I am kind of scared of mountain lions," Michael admitted. "Don't worry," Dad told him. "Mountain lions are scared of people too. We probably won't even see one. Besides, we'll learn all about mountain lions without ever getting close to one," Mom said. "How?" asked Emily. "We can find out a lot about animals by what we find on the trail," said Mom. "Let's look for some sign," Dad said. "We'll show you what Mom's talking about." "Sign?" asked Michael, puzzled. "You mean like a sign at the zoo?" Dad smiled. "A sign is a clue that an animal has left behind," he said. "See this," said Mom. "See where the bark has been chewed off those trees? That's a sign a porcupine was having its lunch." Michael forgot all about mountain lions and was excited about looking for clues. "Look, footprints," he said. "You're right," said Mom. "Those are porcupine tracks. And look how it's dragged its tail in the middle." Dad pointed to something next to the tracks. It was lumpy, bumpy, and brown. "This is porcupine scat," Dad said. "Scat?" asked Emily. "What's scat?" "It's a word hikers and trackers use for animal poop," Dad replied. "See, Michael," said Dad, "we don't have to get up close to an animal to learn about it. Instead of a close encounter of the scary kind, we'll have a close encounter of the poopy kind." Everybody laughed and Mom made a gross-out face. "Let's see if we can find some more signs," said Emily. "This is like a treasure hunt." "I found more scat," said Michael, trying to sound grown-up. "It's from a really big rabbit, much bigger than my rabbit Fluffy." "Actually, Michael," said Dad, "that's deer scat." "How can you tell?" Emily asked. "Rabbit scat is small and round, like little balls," Mom explained. Deer scat is shaped more like jelly beans. Michael spotted something on the ground and realized it was an antler. "Oh no," he said with a shiver. Did a mountain lion eat the deer?" "Don't worry, Michael," said Dad. "The deer shed their antlers every year, and they grow bigger ones." "This is a mule deer antler," said Mom. "You can tell because it's shaped differently than a white-tailed deer antler." "Are these the deer's tracks over here?" asked Emily. "Good eye," said Mom. "See how the tracks are split down the middle? Deer hooves have two parts." "This deer was in a hurry," said Dad as he studied the ground. "How can you tell?" asked Emily. "Over here, you can see the hoof prints get very far apart," Dad said. He pointed to the tracks. "And see how the front prints are behind the back prints?" "Was the deer walking backwards?" asked Emily. Mom chuckled. "No, it was galloping. Something scared it, and it was moving fast," she said. "Well, what are those little marks?" asked Emily, pointing to the two funny little dents behind each track. "Those are from the deer's dew claws," explained Mom. Emily thought Mom was teasing her. "Deer don't have claws," she said. "Dew claws are small claws, partway up an animal's leg. Lots of animals have them, including dogs and cats." "Here's what scared the deer," said Dad. "Look, there are coyote tracks and scat all around." "They look like dog tracks," said Michael. "Well, yeah, that's because the coyote is part of the dog family," said Dad. Mom added, "Their scat looks like dog poop too, except that the coyote scat has bits of bones and hair in it." "Yuck," said the kids. "Some of these coyote tracks are very small," said Mom, "like they're from pups. There must be a den nearby. We should head out so we don't disturb them." "Hey, here's the rabbit scat you were looking for," said Dad. "Yeah," said Michael, "but it is a lot bigger than Fluffy's." "I think this is jackrabbit scat," Dad said. "Jackrabbits are bigger than the desert cottontail rabbits around here, and so is their poop." "You can't tell just from the poop what kind of rabbit or jackrabbit it was," Dad said. "The tracks show whether or not it is a rabbit or a jackrabbit." "Sometimes tracks don't look like footprints," Mom said. "Look at this. It looks like a squiggle pattern in the dirt," said Emily. "It's cool." "And here's its scat," said Mom. "There's the animal that made the tracks and the poop," said Mom. "A rattlesnake!" yelled Michael. "It's not a rattlesnake," said Dad. "It's a gopher snake, Michael. See his tail? There's no rattle on it." Farmers love gopher snakes because they eat a lot of rodents that can damage their crops. "Speaking of rodents," Mom said, "can anyone guess who pooped over here?" "A mouse?" guessed Michael. "The tracks are tiny." "It's a ground squirrel," said Dad. "Look, it's sitting right over there." "How cute!" squealed Emily. "He looks like a chipmunk." "Ground squirrels are close relatives of chipmunks," Mom told her. "Look at this!" Michael shouted. "What's this funny-looking poop?" He was all excited about all the scat they were finding. "Michael," Emily chimed in, "that's not poop. That's an owl pellet. We've been learning about them in school." "That's close," said Dad. "It is a cough pellet. But if you look at these tracks next to it, you'll see it's from an eagle, not an owl." "But what's a cough pellet?" Michael asked. "Does it mean the eagle has a cold?" "Eagles and owls eat their prey whole, bones, fur, feathers, and all," Mom said. "What their tummies can't handle, they cough back up in pellets. If you pick the pellets apart, you can tell what the bird has been eating. A lot of people know about owl pellets, but don't realize that eagles have cough pellets too, added Dad. Is that a groundhog? Asked Emily. It's a yellow-bellied marmot, Dad answered, a rodent that lives in high mountain areas. Yellow-bellied marmot, giggled Michael. That's fun to say. While the marmot and the kids looked at each other, Mom walked over to a small group of twisted trees. Does anyone know what these tracks are? She asked. Michael joined her. They look like the coyote tracks, only smaller. You can't see any claw marks, said Emily. Good thinking, said Mom. These are from a gray fox. Their claws are so sharp and narrow that they often don't appear in the tracks. I found some gigantic gray fox footprints, yelled Michael. These look like fox tracks, but they're not. You're right, said Emily. These are bigger, and there are no claw marks, and the front of the big pad looks dented in. You can also see where one toe sticks out further in front than the others, said Mom. It looks like you found your mountain lion, Michael. Where? Michael said, turning pale. Sorry, said Mom. I meant you found your mountain lion sign. Now, let's see what you can figure out about this cat, said Dad. You kids do the detective work. I see a bunch of scratch marks on this tree, said Emily. I think the mountain lion used it like a scratching post to sharpen its claws. Is this the mountain lion's scat? Asked Michael. It sure is, said Dad. See how it tried to bury its scat? The scat has hair and bone in it, just like the coyotes, said Michael. That means they eat other animals. Emily laid her hand next to the track. It's really big, she said. That's right, Mom said. A mountain lion weighs as much as I do, and a big one can weigh more than Dad. As the family ate dinner that night, everyone talked about how much fun they were having on the Colorado Plateau. We didn't get to see very many animals, said Emily, but it seemed like we did. Everyone laughed when Michael said, and I didn't get scared once. Now let's take a look together inside the Garden of the Gods Visitor and Nature Center exhibit, What's That Scat? Now I really like this first page because it shows us all of the different animals that you may encounter in the Garden of the Gods. For example, the raccoon. Now take a look at those arcs that are coming off of the raccoon's circle. Do you see that the raccoon eats everything? He eats small animals, berries, fruits and nuts, shrubs and trees, insects, grasses, herbs, and wildflowers. There's not much that a raccoon won't eat. And if you've ever accidentally left the lids off your trash can, you might have noticed that a raccoon will even eat your food. But if you look at the next circle for the mule deer definitely is not eating small animals, is he? Because he is an herbivore. He doesn't eat animals. He only eats shrubs and trees and grasses, herbs, and wildflowers. Let's turn our attention next to the coyote. The coyote is the closest relative that we have to our domestic dogs, and the coyote is definitely an omnivore. He eats small animals, berries, fruits, and nuts, insects, grasses, herbs, and wildflowers. Moving to the next circle, the rabbit. Now the rabbit doesn't eat meat, but he does eat berries, fruits, and nuts, and grasses, herbs, and wildflowers. Now let's take a look at the smallest animal on our chart, the bat. And the smallest animal eats the smallest other animals. He eats insects and other invertebrates. And last but not least, our black bear. And our black bear eats nearly everything on our chart. The small animals, berries, fruits, and nuts, insects, grasses, herbs, and wildflowers. So let's get right on to what we've all been waiting for. Let's take a look at some poop. So this first poop, it's circular, it's small. Now, do you remember in the book that they looked at some poop and first Michael identified it as rabbit poop, but then he was taught to look at something that looked like jelly beans. Do you remember whose poop looked like jelly beans? That's right, it's deer poop. This is our mule deer poop. Now this next poop, it's dark, it's about 3 inches, and if you look closely, you can see some undigested bits of nuts and berries in there. Any guesses on whose poop this is? This is raccoon poop. Our next scat, gosh, when I look at this, it looks a lot like my dog's poop. Do you remember which animal is the closest relative to our domesticated dogs? That's right, it's the coyote. This next scat is very small and very circular. Any guesses on whose scat this is? Yes, it is a rabbit scat. Now this next scat we'll look at is very different from all of the other scat we've identified so far. It is very thin and very small. Now thinking back to our wall of animals, which animal do you think would have this small of scat? You're absolutely right, it is bat scat. All right, last but not least, this is the biggest scat that we have in the Nature Center. It is very dark and it is really big. Which animal do you think has this kind of scat? Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's black bear scat. Way to go. It has been so much fun reading with you and taking a look at our scat exhibit together. I really look forward to next week when we can read another book and take another look at a different exhibit in the Garden of the Gods Visitor and Nature Center. See you next week.
Reading rocks.